Threats and attacks on computer. Dear learners, today we are going to deal about the threats and attacks on computer. Introduction. Computer technology is ubiquitous and the influence of computer in society is a welcome step towards modernization, but the society must be better equipped to intensely cope up with challenges associated with technology. Every time a computer system goes online, it connects to thousands of unknown networks and millions of users, providing the opportunity to not only communicate but also share information with others to involve in malicious activities. The vulnerability of data to attacks and threats has become apparent, and several distinct types of threats and attacks have emerged as an outcome. Policies and processes helps us to secure our environments from threats and attacks in this ever-changing world of security. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, one will be able to identify and understand the threats posed to information security, identify and understand the more common attacks associated with those threats, will gain knowledge of how to mitigate the different types of threats and attacks in order to defend themselves. Now let us see what is a threat. A computer threat refers to anything that has the potential to seriously harm a computer system. A threat may or may not happen, but has the potential to cause serious damage and can put individuals' computer systems of business computers at risk. Therefore, the vulnerabilities for threat have to be fixed so that the attackers cannot penetrate the system and cause damage. In general, a computer threat is defined as a risk that which can potentially harm computer systems and organization through unauthorized access. The access could be physical, such as someone stealing a computer that contains vital data, or it could be a non-physical attack such as a virus attack. The online threats are the non-physical threats, also known as logical threats, that results in loss or damage of system data, disrupt business operations that merely depend on computer systems, loss of sensitive information, classification of threats. Network security comes across a wide variety of threats to the data and devices. There are a number of ways that the computer or your data can be posed a threat. The classification is made on the way the information in the system is compromised upon. They are broadly classified into two dominant types, namely they are the passive threats and the active threats. Now let us see what are passive threats. Passive threats doesn't harm the data, rather an eye is kept on what you are doing, and when something interesting like a credit card number or personal health information appears on screen, they capture it and send it to their home server without being noticed. The passive threats are very hard to detect and equally quite difficult to prevent as well. Now let us see what are active threats. An active threat is one that actively harms the system by damaging or destroying your information. Some years back, the Stuxnet virus destroyed a number of systems, especially those dealing with the Iranian nuclear program, and till date the publishers of Stuxnet remain secret. Since these threats makes changes to the system, they are easy to detect and fix as well. Types of security threats. A brief explanation on some of the common security threats you may come across is as follows. The first threat is the computer virus. A computer virus is probably the most well-known security threat and is a small piece of software that can spread from one computer to another in the form of a computer program written to change the way the computer operates without the permission of the admin or the main user. Computer virus generally executes all by itself and repeats the process to corrupt, steal or deletes the data on your computer, even erase everything on your hard drive. A virus could also use other programs like your email program to spread itself to other computers or trick the person into taking some action like clicking on a malicious link, downloading a malicious file, etc. Hence, it is good to have an antivirus on the system which not only detects the virus but get rid of them as well. Spyware. Spyware, as the name suggests, spy on the network by monitoring the online activities of a user and sometimes installs a program without letting the admin know. It is usually done to gather valuable personal information about the user and may be downloaded unintentionally from different websites, email messages or instant messages. In some cases, clicking on Accept User License Agreement can also bring the computer to risk. The next threat we are going to see is the hacking. Hacking is a threatening program to victimize the users by breaking into computer systems to steal, change or destroy information and has strict penalties by the government. The next one is the phishing. Phishing refers to the emails that appears if they are from legitimate sources like banks and try to steal sensitive financial and personal information through spam messages or emails. They often pose threats to the financial sources. For example, the message would try to lure you into giving your personal information by disguising that your bank or email service provider is updating its website and that you are directed to click on the link in the email in order to verify your account information and password details. Worms. A computer worm is a software program that can copy itself from one computer to another without human interaction, which takes advantage of the weakness in the operating system. The most prominent feature of the worms is that they are able to spread at a very high rate, replicating in high volumes, which can lead the system being at risk of crashing. The next threat we are going to see is the Trojan. Trojan make their way into the software which may not be noticed simply by downloading an application they thought was legitimate but was in fact malicious. Once set into your computer, a Trojan can do anything from recording your passwords by making an entry through login keystrokes to hijacking your webcam to watch and record your every move. The next one is the rootkit. Rootkit is a collection of tools that helps the hacker in exploiting a vulnerability or security hole in a legitimate application on your computer to spread malware on a system for monitoring and recording keystrokes. The rootkits are capable of hiding themselves from the antivirus software, due to which the user is unaware it is present on the system. The next one we are going to see is the adware. The adware has added to the list of computer threats in the recent days. They are actually the advertising supported software where we see different advertisements or pop-ups coming up on the computer during the use of certain applications. They lower the speed of the computers, which sometimes lead to instability of the system. Botnet. A botnet is defined as a group of computers connected to the internet that has been breached by a hacker using a computer virus or Trojan. Each of the individual computers in the group is known as a zombie computer. If the botnet is adequately large in number, it could be used to access a targeted website simultaneously, known as the denial of service attack. The ultimate aim of a denial of service attack is to bring down a web server by overloading it with access requests. These are the main types of computer threats which have to be looked upon to ensure that the network and or standalone systems are protected. Now let us see how to protect against these threats. It is a dangerous world out there in the World Wide Web. Therefore, as soon as any of the threats are detected, measures will have to be taken to get rid of them at the earliest so that the data is protected. To protect the computer systems from the above mentioned threats, an organization must ensure that the logical security measures are in place. The following list shows some of the possible measures that can be taken to protect some of the common security threats. Antivirus software can be used by an organization to protect against viruses, trojans, worms, etc. In addition to the antivirus software, an organization should have control measures on the usage of external storage devices and restrict visiting the websites that is most likely to download unauthorized programs onto the user's computer. The authentication methods such as user IDs and strong passwords, smart cards or biometric, etc. can be used to prevent unauthorized access to computer system resource. Intrusion detection or prevention systems can be used to avoid denial of service attacks and protect the computer. Management should be informed of the different threats faced by the organization, and by examining each threat category, management could effectively protect information through policy, education, training and technology controls. Now let us see what is an attack. Given the incredible amount of information that is held on computers and online, it is no surprise that networks are subjected to a number of different types of attack. An attack is initiated from a computer against a website, another computer system or individual computer that compromises the confidentiality, integrity or availability of the system or information stored on it. Now let us see the classification and the factors of an attack. Computer attacks are classified into two broad types, namely attacks where the goal is to knock out the target computer, attacks where the goal is to gain access to the target computer and perhaps gain admin privileges on its data. Computer attacks are due to three main factors, namely illegal access to compromise the target system, gains to an attacker such as information stored in the system or the total control of the system. The types of computer attacks. There are a number of computer attacks and some of them have been listed below. Network probe. A probe is defined as an attempt to gain access to a computer and its data through an identified or probable weak point in the computer system. Network probes are not an immediate attack, but indicate that someone is casing your system for possible entry points to attack. It is nothing but a real-time network monitor which analyzes protocols and network traffic. The next is the brute force attack. Brute force attack is a trial and error method used by application programs to decode encrypted data such as passwords or cryptographic keys through exhaustive effort rather than employing intellectual strategies. Brute force cracking is nothing but continuously guessing a password until one gets it right, allowing entry to a site. The next attack is the drive-by download. Drive-by download is referred to a program that is automatically downloaded to a computer without your consent or knowledge. Drive-by download attacks are triggered simply by a victim clicking a link which unknowingly to the victim injects malicious software onto the computer or another device. The criminals prefer to use well-established high-traffic websites to carry out their attacks. The malware most commonly used in drive-by download attacks are the Trojans. The next one is the distributed denial of services. DDoS is just an effort to make an online service unavailable by overwhelming it with traffic from multiple sources. DDoS attacks are used to compromise an organization system, and these compromised systems are typically infected with a Trojan to overwhelm an online service, impacting abilities to publish and access important information. Advanced Persistent Threat Attack, it is also known as APT. APT attack refers to a network attack in which an unauthorized person gains access to a network and lingers there undetected for a long period. The goal is to continuously gather valid user credentials and access to more and more valuable information rather than shut down a network, requiring continual code rewrites and sophisticated evasion techniques. The next type of attack is the SQL injection attack. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, a programming language used to communicate with databases, significantly for data management. A SQL injection attack pointedly targets the database server using malicious code to get the server to disclose information it normally wouldn't, such as credit card numbers, passwords, usernames, other personally identifiable information which are tempting and lucrative targets for the attacker. An SQL injection attack works by exploiting any one of the known SQL vulnerabilities that allow the SQL server to run malicious code that would force the site's SQL server to dump all of its stored confidential information for the site. Session hijacking and man-in-the-middle attacks. When you are online, your computer has back and forth transactions with servers around the world, letting them know who you are and your request for specific websites or services, and the web servers respond to your request by giving you the information you are accessing. This process or session between your computer and the remote web server is assigned a unique session ID which is private between the two parties. Session hijacking happens when an attacker can hijack the session by capturing the session ID through various means such as cross-scripting and posing as the computer making a request, unsuspecting user, allowing them to log in as an unsuspecting user and gain access to unauthorized information on the web server. An attacker hijacks the session to insert themselves between the requesting computer and the remote server, pretending to be the other party in the session to intercept information in both directions, and is commonly called a man-in-the-middle attack. Next, let us see how to secure the system. What was once a wake-up call for businesses is now an almost daily occurrence since most of the businesses are under cyber attack. The system can be secured from online security attack through three basic methods, namely, first one is the prevention. Though attacks have become more sophisticated, successfully eluding a variety of security measures, prevention remains an important element of a successful security strategy. Even though prevention hasn't always worked out, the organizations require real-time protection that can stop these attacks and disrupt the attack chain in an effort to prevent compromise. One of the most common approaches for prevention is to break the critical points in the attack chain with preemptive defenses on both the endpoint and the network. Data is the heart of modern businesses and now the target for cyber criminals. Targeted attacks are multifaceted and notably designed to elude point technologies attempting to detect and block them. Once they are inside, the only way to detect this type of threat is by understanding the behavior of all of the individual attack components and using analytics to understand their relationship. Big data analytics detects attacks by understanding the behavior of all of the individual attack components and analyzing their relationship. Currently, organizations could carefully examine massive amounts of data both inside and outside the enterprise, since big data analytics can uncover hidden relationships, detect attack patterns, and stamp out security threats and set priorities for remediation. Reaction. Today, it is not a matter of if an organization will be breached, but a question of when and by how much, and the organization must have the ability to respond rapidly once the initial incident has been detected. An understanding of the complete attack chain is critical in order to grasp thoroughly extent of the breach and potentially exposed sensitive data. Security threats continue to grow in large volume and complexity, but an integrated approach of prevention, detection and reaction based on the security analytics can help to secure our system. Now, let us see how to defend from various attacks. In network probe attack, once you have a comprehensive understanding and have recorded events, report the probe to alert management and the security team about the probe so that they can conduct forensic analysis, continually monitor the activity by placing extra intrusion detection sensors on uncovered network sections and make executive decisions about how to proceed. In brute force attack, authentication mode and lockout privacy settings are an easy and efficient way to anticipate brute force cracking attempts as they make the attack more time consuming. In drive-by download attack, keep your software up to date because drive-by downloads are mostly inserted into outdated plugins and browsers. In the distributed denial of services attack, properly configured server applications can minimize effects and awareness training can help avoid additional intrusion points. In advanced persistent threat attack, due to the vast impact and complexity of APT attacks, multiple technologies are required in combating it, such as around the clock monitoring and incident reports are necessary in threat management. In SQL injection attack, parameterized queries allows the database to distinguish between code and data regardless of what input is supplied, thus avoiding any possible SQL injection vulnerabilities. In cross-site scripting attack, preventing XSS vulnerabilities from appearing in your applications is by taking the data an application has received and ensuring whether it is secure before rendering it for the end user, and validate it by ensuring that an application is rendering the correct data and preventing malicious data from doing harm to the site. In session hijacking and man-in-the-middle attack, using secure private networks such as HTTPS and strengthening the security measures are the opinions left for users to protect themselves from session hijacking and man-in-the-middle attacks. Now, let us conclude what we have seen in this topic. A threat is any activity that can lead to data loss or corruption through to disruption of normal business operations. An attack is a deliberate act or action that exploits vulnerability in a controlled system. These are the common types and techniques of threats and attacks. Attackers do emerge and new methods arise, however, being aware of and mitigating these types of threats and attacks will significantly improve the security posture. Thank you.